But I do remember like waking up one day and not having the desire to use anymore. I thought that was amazing.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Breaking Down Addiction, a podcast by national addiction specialists. And you got Jonny, Phillip here, joined by Chad Elkin.
See you guys today.
And just very special guest today. We're very thankful. Todd Mulligan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for
today.
having me, Jonny and Chad.
Yeah, you're welcome. We've known each other loosely for like 5 years,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to get in the nitty-gritty of your life and hear the good and the bad and the in-between. And I know that you've come out of it in recovery, but I want to hear first and foremost right now, if you can talk to yourself, if you're sitting across from yourself in active addiction, what would you say to him?
I've actually thought about that a lot. Like, what would I say? How would I snap myself out? You know, just anything. What would I say to like wake Todd up in that particular time in active addiction? And honestly, I don't think anything I would have said to myself, I wouldn't have listened. You know, I didn't listen to anyone.
That's a great point. Yeah, because it's like, what if I tell myself 1,000 great things? Be like, yeah, I still have this other part of my life to take care of.
But what I would say, but what I would say is stop fighting. You don't have to keep fighting and putting on this mask, you know, and pretending to everyone you're okay. It's okay to, now we know to ask for help, but I didn't know that back then, you know, that it's okay to ask for help and let people know you're struggling. You have a family that loves you and they'll do anything for you. And yeah.
You were, so you're born in Sacramento.
It's born in Northern California, yep.
And you spent some time in Hawaii?
Yes, I moved there about age of 5 years old. So that's when I first had like my beginning memories, 5 to 10 years old.
Which island?
The best one, Kauai. Kauai in the 80s, it was like a magical paradise. Like that experience was not lost on me at all. You know, it was a pretty cool time.
What part of the island of Kauai?
So we're in Kapahi, which is in the mountains, like north of Kapa'a, up there in the mountains. It was beautiful. Waterfalls in your backyard, like no lie. Like it was
I couldn't even imagine. Mm-hmm. I have a special place in my heart for Kauai just because my wife and I got married there a little over a year ago.
And as a little brat kid, all you want to do is get back to the mainland, like go to Disneyland and have fun. You see all these other kids having fun here, and we'd bug can we move back to California? And then
you didn't get like island fever while you were there?
Well, when you're a little kid, you just want to do all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing there in the 80s. There's no like malls or shopping centers or
a lot of roosters, probably.
A lot.
So what did your family do? Like that so you're able to kind of like live in different places?
Yeah, so I asked my dad, like, why did we move there? Like, what was he's like, I think he just needed a vacation. I think it kind of turned into 5 years. My grandma got sick, so we moved back, or we probably...
Y'all had like a family business, or...?
My dad built a building for my mom, and she went to work as a real estate agent. Okay. He stayed home and raised us. He did odd jobs here and there, but it was pretty cool. He worked really hard when he was younger, had a lot of different businesses here and there. I think he was just burnt out at that time.
Got it.
Where did you move to from Hawaii when you moved back?
Back to Northern California, Sacramento, yeah.
Okay. And it was always Sacramento proper that you were in?
Right outside, yeah, on the river, beautiful. My dad bought this old farmhouse that needed a lot of work. It sat vacant for like 5 years before we moved in there, so there was a lot of work to do, and all the kids helped. And
well, we've talked about Santa Barbara before and how you said that's one of your favorite places, so I don't know if you've ever lived there or not.
Santa Barbara? Yeah, so I fell in love with surfing in high school. You know, I had an older friend that liked to go surfing, so we'd spend the summers on the beach. They had a place up north, so we'd go surfing there, and then during the school year, we'd have $20, $40, and we'd go to Santa Cruz for the weekend and sleep in our cars and go surfing. And it was just like what I wanted to do. It was the first thing that I felt passionate about.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And so when it was time to go to college, my grades weren't the best, but I wanted to go to UC Santa Barbara. You know, I visited him and I said, like, that's the place I want to be. And I didn't get into UC, so I went to the city college down there and lived in the college town. And
what was life like before addiction, like growing up and surfing, was it a pretty normal childhood?
Yeah, I had a great childhood. Like my family's awesome. We had a lot of fun. There's always something interesting to do. I'm not going to tell you it was perfect. You know, I don't know whose is, but
Yeah.
would I go back and do it again? Hell yeah.
No, it's a good point. But, you know, what does those imperfections look like? Did you do well in school? Did you have issues there?
So I think that's probably where it all started. My brother is a very smart guy, great student, and I wasn't, And looking back now is probably ADD, undiagnosed. Like I don't think that it was really diagnosed when I was a kid, very much. And so I struggled. The educational system in Hawaii was really poor. So when I came back to California, I was really behind and had to go after school to learn how to read at the level the other kids were. And so I just started to believe that I wasn't smart and not a good student.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think confidence is such a huge thing when it comes to children.
Yeah.
And so getting that confidence or having that one teacher that tells you, believes in you.
So I struggled.
Such an important thing in life, for sure.
Yeah, what were some of those issues in high school, and how do you think that developed into how life started going for
It
you?
was just it starts with like a mindset and a belief system that I wasn't a good student and I'm not going to get good grades, and those grades reflected that. Until about junior year, when I wanted to go to UC Santa Barbara, I knew I had to get better grades, and I did have one teacher that believed in me, and surprisingly, I got an A in his class, and it was like an honors chemistry class, something I wasn't supposed to be good at. And so that was like, it changed things around where I was on the A honor roll for the last 2 years of, still wasn't, when you match the poor grades, the first 2 years of high school compared to the last two, like the grades weren't good enough to get into a good school, but it showed me that I could, that I was capable.
That's a positive thing, though,
Yeah.
if you kind of start lower and then build and get better versus the opposite, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then what was your peer group like in high school? Did you have a lot of friends?
Yeah, I had a lot of friends.
Okay.
Guys and girls, like we all hung out together. It was a smallish Catholic high school, so we were all very close.
I went to Catholic school growing up, but cut off at 4th grade. What was Catholic high school like?
18 years of Catholic school, baby.
Yeah, did you have to wear the slacks and the polo?
Oh
and
yeah, the
loafers?
corduroy. I still wore corduroys this day. I loved it. I loved having a uniform. Same thing you're going to wear every day.
That's right.
You don't have to think about it.
I had a uniform, too. I went to private school when I was a kid, too, and I love wearing uniforms. It's just, you don't have to think about what you're going to, you just put on the same thing, like Steve Jobs style, right? Just put on the same outfit every day and go.
I hated it as a kid because they also wouldn't let me wear shorts.
Well,
You had an option to wear shorts. I never did. I just wore the corduroys through the summer and winter. And it's tough in high school, too, because you want to find your independence, grow your hair out long, dye your hair black, whatever you want to do. And you can't. You have rules at Catholic school that you have to follow.
Oh, yeah.
that can be good or bad, depending on how you look at it.
So you're always straddling the line of breaking the rules and complying.
When, at what part of your life did you get involved in doing construction? Because I know that there was a construction accident that happened at some time around there. There was a car accident that gave you a concussion. And this is all intertwined with how pills got introduced into your life.
Yeah.
And what age was that? And if you can just kind of
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it, kind of started in college, a lot of drinking, failed out of school, college, went back home, really was directionless, kind of floating around. But my dad had a lot of real estate and it was into, fixing up apartment complexes and things like that. And so I didn't, I was directionless. So I started working for Dad and started becoming good at the trades. And
that's useful.
Yeah, it's a great
if you have a
skill,
trade job, you can always have a job, essentially. But go ahead.
Absolutely. But, struggle with low confidence, low self-esteem still. I battled that my whole life, and that's not gone today. Like, it's still, something we're probably going to still deal with the rest of my life, but it's okay. It's a lot better. About the age of 25 or so, I was in a car accident, a minor car accident, but enough to go to the hospital. 2 weeks later, I was working on one of the buildings that I owned with my dad, and we were installing like a second-story window, and we had the scaffolding that I helped build, and it broke. And so I
The
landed up,
scaffolding,
yeah, it
was it
snapped.
built incorrectly, or was it
it's
just-
underbuilt,
Okay.
absolutely. And it broke. And so my business partner and I fell off it and both ended up in the hospital again with a concussion. So you mix minor pain, back pain from the car accident with a concussion, with depression, anxiety. And those Vicodins I was prescribed was like what I was looking for, the answer that I was looking for. Immediately took away all anxiety and depression and started chasing that.
Yeah, I think it's a theme that I've seen concerning, social anxiety and potential, substance use disorder, substance use disorders in relation to, all right, I started using alcohol and I felt normal in a crowd. I started using Xanax. I started using Oxy, whatever it is, and I feel normal and I feel like I can, my anxiety's gone, my nervousness is gone, do you feel the same way? Do you feel that in your situation that was kind of the scenario?
100%. Like alcohol did all those things for me too. It just left me with a nasty hangover the next day and, a bar tab where pain pills were immediate and they worked better for me, for me.
Sure.
Well, how long did it take for the pills to get out of control or out
Immediately.
of hand?
Yeah, immediately. I was already stealing from my friends that I knew had Vicodin. I didn't even know what pain pills were before I was prescribed, and I was prescribed, and I started to know who had them in their cabinets. Then I found a website you could order them, shipped to your house, telehealth with a doc, and this was the Wild West days of the internet. And then that dried up.
And then what did you do from there when it dried up, the prescriptions?
Oh, you find out your drug dealer has these little blue pills. So the same thing as a Vicodin, just a little stronger, and it's oxycodone, Oxycontin.
So you started buying off the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I watched the show Intervention that you were on, so I got some background on your history and everything, and it seemed like your family had resources that, came from a wealthy family. Do you think what do you think that plays a role in some kids in relation to substance use disorders of having those resources available?
Sure. I mean,
I see that in Nashville in private schools a lot. They have tons of extra money.
yeah. It can be a barrier to getting help sometimes. I see now when I work in treatment, and it can keep you out there in your addiction longer. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Because of the amount of resources. and money you have.
Resources, like, yeah. I had different people I could go to if I needed money, work I could do. Just having someone you could go to for, get some extra work to make money to go buy drugs is,
And also, I want to ask about, so you're using these pills, and are you having to use more, and is withdrawal starting to happen then if you don't, or
yeah.
anything like that?
Yeah, that's when I knew I was screwed, is when you get that first feeling of withdrawal, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh my God, do I have the flu? I remember it was like a Thanksgiving. I had everyone over from my house, and I'm in a good mood, and then I don't think I took any pills that day or the day before, I don't know, and I just got hit with this flu-like symptoms, and I knew, and it clicked, and I was like, oh, it's because of that.
And then did you have to start using a lot more at that point? And then did you start stealing more, and did this kind of
Yeah, I was
spiral
an
even
everyday
more out of control?
opiate user. I had to use every day, or it was a bad day. And like can you build up a tolerance to pain pills very quickly, very quickly.
And so you feel like you were using for what reasons? You aren't using for euphoria.
Yeah, I was still getting euphoric effects.
Okay, so you were using some for euphoria, but also potentially to help out with some of the mental health stuff with the social anxiety and things like that as
It was
well.
the miracle drug. It worked for everything that I had an issue with, except they're just damn expensive.
And then, go ahead.
Did your family? When did your family start noticing this? Did they know? When did they know there was a problem? How long did this go before you had a problem? Before they noticed it.
So I was married at the time, and I'm sure she knew before everyone else did. I'd like to think they didn't know, but I think everyone knew pretty. When someone's behavior changes so drastically, and they're not the same person, you feel like they're not noticing, but they notice.
You're pulling a quick one on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable, right? You don't want to, like, it's a hard conversation to have with someone that's struggling, and then you go to them with it, and they're denying it. I'd always say, no, it's not that. I'm just having a beer, or a drink. Just always, trying to pull the wool over everyone else's eyes and kind of like deflect. And
And you were living with your parents for a while, right?
that was later.
Okay.
I was renting a house from my family.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had a young daughter. I think I was 26, 27, something like that. And it became too much. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to support a full-time addiction and raise a family, and it was just a recipe for disaster. And eventually the wife leaves, takes your daughter, and then I had nothing left. I moved back in with my parents eventually.
Right. And so when you moved back with your parents, they weren't giving you money, but you've got a house over your head, you've got food, et cetera. What advice would you give another family that has a son or daughter in active addiction in relation to how much support they should give that person? Because sometimes it can act as a crutch.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, this is your son or daughter, right?
Yeah,
and so
it's
you
an
want
uncomfortable conversation to have, and I have that talk with families all the time. And all I can do is share my experience, and it comes down to boundaries every time. You set those boundaries, and you stick to those boundaries, and that's how you're going to see results when it comes to.
Great point. And I do want to rewind it just a little bit about your consequences start getting bigger at this point. Wife leaves, the kids. Is it kid or kids?
Daughter.
At this point?
Yeah.
Daughter at this point. But then your usage turns into like Suboxone's entered here,
Yeah.
Xanax, meth.
I don't know what year it was, but Oxys, went from like $5 a pill to $25 a pill overnight.
It's quite the jump.
Yeah, it was
higher than
not
that
in
now.
my
Yeah.
inflation.
my income at the time could not keep up with the inflation. So, it's get sober or start finding other ways to feed the addiction.
The Suboxone entering here, how was your experience on it at that point?
I never gave it a fair shot. I was on it for 5 years, but I would take it, and then when I could get other oxys, I would, and I would stop taking it. So I'd go back and forth. I never stayed on it consistently, and then I started adding other drugs to it. Xanax became an everyday thing for years,
And meth on top of that.
Then meth got involved, and that was like the last 3 years of my usage. So when you watch the show Intervention, it shows that, but that was the last 3 years of an 11-year addiction.
Well, let's start talking,
since
you brought it up.
Yeah.
Very few people get to share their story publicly like that.
Yeah.
What was Intervention like? But also, did you not really realize that it was the show Intervention at all at any part of that? Because I always wonder, like I'm sitting down with filming this documentary, which, you're probably deep in your usage at this point. And what was the experience like having people around watch you? And let's take it from there, actually.
Yeah. So if they would have found me early on in my addiction, I probably would have, right? But this is 11 years in with a lot of daily meth use, 24 hours a day. So there's a lot of delusions going on. And,
Okay.
So I had been to treatment a few times, unsuccessful. Went to go stay with my sister down in Orange County area, and she had a lot of friends that were in the TV industry and things like that. And so she told me that she had a friend that was looking for someone to film a small documentary for. And at that point, I maybe thought selfishly there would be something in it for me. And so I said, sure.
That also makes sense.
Yeah. And I was like, who are you going to show this to? And they're just like school kids and guys in jail. I was like, cool, I don't mind if they see it. And so that's what I thought it was going to be. And then they showed up with nice camera equipment. I go, ooh. Yeah.
How did
but
that?
No, I didn't.
I mean, like, that is something. I'm sure different people would have different reactions to that. Of my, substance use disorder is now going to be public. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
With me personally, I I mean, it worked out for me. So,
Sure.
it was
More
a positive.
accountability, right?
Exactly. And so, I was scared and nervous when I found out it was the show. I found out when I walked into that hotel room, and I knew immediately what it was, but before that I did not know
With the intervention.
that it was the TV show. I kind of figured out when I saw the lights. I walked into kind of like a studio like this, and I was like, ooh.
That had to
saw
have been
my
a crazy feeling,
Yeah.
right?
It was kind of surreal.
Yeah.
But it clicked then, but before it did not.
And I do want to talk about, too, just going back and watching that episode, I got to know you first before even seeing it. And most of the interventions, they don't go smoothly. There's people that run out of the room. They're very hesitant, and it's definitely like verbal altercations. There's a lot of badness and drama in those interventions. Yeah. Yours, I think, says a lot about you. You see your family there and how much they care and love you, and you just immediately say yes. And you're you're almost like timid in it, right?
Yeah, because I'm a people pleaser too. So now sitting back and watching, I'm like, okay, so I was, I love my family, of course, and we all get along great. But I wanted to just appease them, and I can be defiant later.
Oh, okay.
So
you were
got
thinking
it.
just-
I'll go with it, and then I'll go AMA from the treatment center and go,
Yeah.
it's a better strategy.
And for listeners out there that don't know what that means leaving against medical advice.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've done that many times, a few times, not many times.
I mean, the biggest piece here with intervention is that when you said yes, they offered to send you to Cumberland Heights here
Yeah.
in Nashville.
Yeah. I was
And
not happy about that, though.
so you were not happy to leave California and your
No.
family and all
I don't want to
that.
come to Tennessee.
feel that.
What was in my mind about Tennessee was not what it actually is.
Yeah, what was it?
I thought it was like, you see pictures of the Wild West towns with those dust blowing across. I thought it was. I thought that was what Broadway was. I just had no idea, no clue. That's what meth
It's like
does to
everybody
you.
from LA has moved to Nashville now.
Yeah. I did it before them, so.
Yeah,
It was the Wild West before everybody from LA started moving here.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
kidding.
true. It was different.
But
It
everyone
was
always
different.
asked me, when did you move here? I was like, I didn't move here. I was sent here. And I just stayed and fell in love with Nashville.
But getting away from
Yeah.
your environment
Yes.
and all those potential cues of this is where I could get drugs. I've
keeps
got
me
my
running
drug
back to
dealer
my
over
comfort
here. I've got my friends over here. Got this support system. Is that a recommendation that
It's not always a recommendation. It can be done in the area. But for some people, it is, especially people that have, like me, that have tried to do it locally where they live, the state, and it didn't work out. Maybe let's try to get them outside a little bit. And I think they picked a perfect place for me.
So it was the place, I think. It's a really good question. It's a really good point. Geographic location, I think, could really help some people. But drug addicts, alcoholics, we're really crafty.
Yeah.
I always used to say, like, when I was getting sober, if you ship me off into the cornfields of Iowa, I will find a place to drink.
Yeah. Start making your own whiskey.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like a drug addict, if you drop them off in the middle of the mountains, they will be high probably within 12 hours. We're very crafty. But this geographical location ended up working. So tell me about like when you showed up to Cumberland Heights, how long were you there? Because you did mention that you did Stillwaters there as well.
Yeah.
So like what did that treatment look like? And did you finally did that settle in that like, okay, this is great actually, and how long did that take?
Yeah, that was a while down the road. But so I showed up in the middle of the night because they gave me, after that intervention, I had 1 hour to get on, or an hour and a half to get on the airplane. And I was not happy because I couldn't go home and pack and use first. I wasn't expecting to fly across the country. So it kind of put a damper in my plans for that day. So I show up and I'm already tired. And I flew out with a nurse. We get there late at night. I'm tired. I just want to go to bed. And I wake up and everyone, heard that you're on the show Intervention. They had to kind of prepare and, so no patients were filmed that night. And that's why they kind of did it in the middle of the night. And everyone has all these questions and I don't have any answers because it's new to me too. Like it just happened. It's kind of surreal. And then you start detoxing and then you're really confused. And then my natural instincts kick in, the defiance, and wanting to leave AMA and not participating. I wasn't rude to anyone. I just wasn't going to participate because I knew that I took my previous treatment experiences in with me to this new one. It didn't work. Didn't work. It's not. Something's wrong with me. It's not. Sobriety's not for everyone.
And then you're thinking right off the bat, this isn't going to work too.
Yeah.
So
I want it to
doing
work.
this
It would be
dance
great
right
if it did, but I've tried this before and it didn't. So I'm not going to get my expectations really high just to be let down again.
What treatment attempt was this at this point?
A couple detoxes, maybe 4 treatment centers.
Yeah, I mean, for listeners out there that, it does take a lot of attempts. The average number of attempts it takes for somebody to get off of substances is about 7. And so never give up on yourself and never give up on a family member. Just because it hasn't worked before doesn't mean the next one's not going to work. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
In us in recovery, we always like to say it takes how many ever times it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Like if you go to 45 times, that's what it takes.
And I know
Don't give
guys
up.
that have gone a lot of, So, and Cumberland Heights was different than the other treatment centers I went to. Yeah, it was beautiful, but the staff was great. The nursing staff, the clinical staff, everyone was very kind. And they stuck with me when I was being defiant and not going to groups. Actually brought group to my room one time, which is really embarrassing. But they were trying different modalities to kind of get me to snap out of it. And then I started to feel a little bit better. The guys that I was in there with were awesome. And everyone was pretty excited about recovery and different than the other treatment centers I went to. People had to be there. They didn't want to be there. Of course, you're going to see that in any treatment center you go to, but the majority of the guys that I was hanging around with were excited about, recovery.
That's got to help that all
It did
these
help.
people are on board.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I'm down here and they're up here a little bit, they can kind of pull me up to their level and vice versa,
The food's really good there too.
It's great. Put on like 20 pounds in the first month.
So did you do detox res for a month?
I did. Well, I had to do like 5 weeks. They tried to keep me 6 weeks because I wasn't participating, and they wanted me to get the full experience of the program. So I did 5 weeks at Cumberland Heights, and then they slow rolled me on Stillwaters. They probably knew that I would say no right off the bat, but I knew one guy that was, that was hanging out with in residential that went. So I knew I was going to know someone when I went there. I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was going to be like, and it turned out to be the best year of my life.
And just for listeners out there that don't know what Stillwaters is, it's a program here in Tennessee that's semi-linked to Cumberland.
No, it's owned by it's under the umbrella.
Okay, so it's owned by Cumberland, and it's a 12-step immersion program, and they have a men's program separately from a women's program.
Yes.
And like run us through Stillwaters and what you did there and how it clicked or how it started clicking, I guess.
So again, I'm gonna show up to Stillwaters. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna sleep in and not gonna when it doesn't happen there. If someone doesn't show up to group, the whole group. Everything's judged like in a group. The consequences felt by the group, whether it's doing dishes or something like that. So you don't want to disappoint your friends. You're in their treatment with it, so everyone's going to group, and it's a smaller milieu there. It could be like 20 to 30 guys there, and it's a lot smaller and peer driven. You're doing deep work into the 12 steps every day. It was just an awesome experience. It's hard to describe that place, but it was awesome.
And I think that you're preparing your own meals. You guys have to do your own
Eventually,
chores, stuff like that.
Just responsibility and accountability.
So you're sober for around a year at this point. And when do you start working at Cumberland Heights? And
I knew I wanted to get a job at Cumberland Heights somewhere when I was in Stillwaters, and I knew I'd have to leave Stillwaters and get a job, and I was, again, scared. Like, what do I do?
hell yes, you're in Tennessee. You're in this strange land, and now you're sober.
I don't know anyone. I don't know any companies outside of Cumberland Heights. It's the only company I know, so I want to work there, right? But you have to have, a year and a half, 2 years of sobriety. The position I took, it was like a year and a half. You could get a job if you went to Stillwaters. and I did the work program there at Stillwaters. I got out and I got a job at U-Haul, and I hated it. It's like washing trucks and sweeping them out, but it was awesome. It paid the bills until I could get a job at Cumberland Heights.
So U-Haul and then Cumberland Heights. And do you start working in admissions, or are you a tech at this point?
Yeah, I was searching luggage, driving patients to appointments, all that stuff.
That's how I started out in treatment.
Yeah. It's the only thing I was qualified to do, and I was grateful to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we're learning the ropes at that point. And I do want to make a quick note here, too. So you've brought me to Cumberland Heights a few times, and just to tour, have lunch, see Duke, Joey Darby, and I do want to hammer home the food is fantastic there. But then being at Cumberland Heights, it's very nostalgic for me, because where I went to treatment in Center City, Minnesota, was a place called Hazelden. And I learned this my last visit there was somebody from the Cumberland Heights family had somebody go to Hazelden and then started Cumberland Heights as a result of Hazelden's thinking that there needs to be a program like Hazelden in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, it was modeled after Hazelden.
So then it just, when I go there, it reminds me of Hazelden. And
you get the same feeling. But see, I've never
been
to Hazelden, and I want to visit it someday.
It's really wild. And I mean, there's been times where I've been there and I'm walking around clients and I almost get emotional, because it brings me back to that time 13 and a half years ago. But I appreciate any time that you bring me there to connect. And
absolutely.
The
Anytime,
team
Jonny.
there is top notch. After you start working at Cumberland, are you like getting into going to meetings at this point? Are you?
Oh yeah, we're going to. Cumberland Heights took me to my first outside AA meetings, and a few weeks into treatment, and then you go to Stillwaters, and you go to a couple meetings a week at Stillwaters. I went to 3, and one of them, they would drive us into Nashville, and we go to a Cocaine Anonymous meeting at night. It was great. It was like you get to get out, see a little bit, and go back to Stillwaters, because Stillwaters is an hour outside of Nashville, so you're pretty far in the woods. It's beautiful, but you're kind of isolated out there.
And do you have a sponsor at this point?
Yeah.
Are you sponsoring people
Not in treatment, no. But as soon
like
as
after that though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Concerning like 12-step programs, AA, NA, et cetera, do you see much of a difference between those?
I did NA and CA when I first got out. That's how I identified. But as time went on, I just was always gravitated toward the guys that were in AA. And so that's what I do now.
We see that a lot too, where they seem to be fairly similar. And so a lot of people that may have history of opioid use disorder or an addiction to something that wasn't alcohol will go to AA groups and you really get the benefit from that.
Yeah.
Maybe because there's not as many NA groups around their area.
Yeah, and I just find a lot of solid guys in recovery or in AA, and that's just how but when I started out, it was NA. I was known, used meth, so I figured, well, I have to go to NA. But that's not, it all started with alcohol to me. That's where it didn't end with alcohol, but it started with alcohol, and it was very much a problem.
I've always liked the format of AA the most too. But what do you think at Cumberland made the biggest difference from the other places you went to treatment? What's clicking there that is keeping you sober and has kept you sober now?
It was just the experience I had from day 1 to day 31. My counselor was great. All the staff there were awesome, very supportive, very encouraging, and when I struggled, they were there.
Was there a moment of surrender happening?
That happened at Stillwaters, I think.
Okay. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, because I definitely experienced that, and everybody has a different experience.
Yeah, and I never had that white light experience or whatever, like it is in the big book where you just,
Yeah.
But I do remember like waking up one day and not having the desire to use anymore. I thought that was amazing. and I wasn't thinking about it every day. I was just going on, doing my work, doing the work. And then one day I was like, I do not have a I'm not craving drugs right now. And that's a feeling I haven't had in 11 years.
The obsession is starting to lift at this, or it lifted.
Yeah.
I want to maybe, do you realize what's the biggest turning point there?
Say that again?
Do you realize what the biggest turning point is with the surrender? Like, because it's Stillwaters, like, do you have more of a connection with God, spirituality?
Like,
just curious.
Yeah, I was doing the third step with a guy that had done it before, the third step prayer, laying out in the middle, watching the stars. It was just it was an awesome experience.
So spiritual leading
Awakening,
is here. Yeah. No, I'm just happy that you got that. And so, like, these days, you're more in kind of like an outreach role, I guess you call it, right?
I found myself in a pretty cool position over there at Cumberland Heights. You know, I did admissions for a few years, really liked that. And now I work for business development.
Yeah, and tell us about the big things that you do day to day or week to week. That is,
I get to do a lot of cool. I get to do a lot of cool things. I get to, occasionally go out and visit with you and see other treatment facilities and other providers and what they do. Because part of my role is I do help, patients get into Cumberland Heights, and I love that. And I help guide them through the admissions process or their referral sources, guide them through the admissions process, white glove them through. But I also, if someone is not appropriate for us for any reason, maybe it's primary mental health, or they take a different insurance, I get them quality care anywhere in the country, and so that is a very fun, rewarding job to connect someone to quality care.
And it seems, we were talking about this earlier, but it seems that a lot of people that are working in the recovery industry have a history of being in recovery themselves. And obviously, with your experiences, when you're talking to somebody that's coming in on the front side, you've been where they are, right? And so, do you think that is that plays a huge impact when you're talking to people?
Absolutely. A shared experience with someone can go a long way. Like, I've been where you are. I slept in the same bed you're about to sleep in, ate the same food. Actually, I'm eating it right now, kind of walk them through their fears and their struggles, because we know most people walking into treatment aren't there they're there because, if it was their choice, they would have it another way, but they're there right now and they're scared.
Yeah, and you get to be that guy to not make them scared and be there for them.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's definitely what got me working into treatment. When I was in Hazelden, all the counselors, therapists, group leaders, and all the guys that was in my wing. So I was in with 24 other guys. Having that experience made me want to give back because they were all there for me so much. But you've had mental health issues, you've had pain, public recovery. Like, how do you has your relationship or thoughts on addiction has that changed over time?
Yeah, and they're still changing. New research comes out. Maybe this isn't the best modality. That is, it's evolved since I got into recovery. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so different modalities that Cumberland Heights does. Like, what do you think sets them apart from a lot of the places here?
Cumberland Heights does a lot of things I don't think people are aware of, and the different programs we do have, and the patients we can treat. We just opened a professionals program. We treat adolescents too. Our Arch Academy, Adolescent Recovery at Cumberland Heights. We have a girls' campus and a boys' campus.
Which the girls is new, right?
Brand new, yeah. Let's take it back a little bit, though.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, purpose is something I was always missing, and then finding recovery, and then finding a job, because I just wanted a job at Cumberland Heights, and then I found out that, I love helping people, and I kind of found my purpose, and that's been a huge game changer for me, I think.
Yeah, you're helping people now. You have that central purpose in life. I mean, you probably wouldn't be happy just working at doing something random.
Yeah, like I hated you all, you know? Like I don't have that pit in your stomach feeling anxiety like I got every day going to school. And I don't have that going to work. I don't dread going to work. I love going to work.
Amazing thing.
Yeah. It's weird saying that, but
Well, you can use your experiences to help somebody else, obviously, and that's the purpose of this podcast as well, to help somebody out there that's struggling, or a family, to give them some advice, show them that the people that have been there, that, you know, you can make that change in your own life, you know, and that's obviously what happened in your scenario as well. Does your family, so your wife and kids, do they live here now? Your parents still live out in
I'm
California?
remarried,
Okay.
so my wife's here with me.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's back in California. My daughter's out there with her mom. My dad passed away a few years ago. It was tough.
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm grateful I got to, do that.
Your dad got to see you
Sober.
get sober.
Yeah, man. I couldn't imagine having that happen and me still being in active addiction, because I would have avoided that probably.
And your dad was, I saw from the show, your dad was kind of you said he would have done well in the military.
Yeah, I was just talking crap then. Yeah, no, he was in the military.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
no, he was a great guy. He's a great dad.
Yeah. But
That
sometimes,
show didn't paint him in the, but that was, that was a week of someone's life. So
sure, it's just a short term. Yeah.
yeah, and you still have a camera in front of you, so you're not, you're being filmed, so you're a little on guard, and people. Yeah, my dad didn't enjoy that experience at all, but he felt it necessary to, and he was himself too.
So I actually lost my dad to 7 years ago to cancer.
Sorry.
Thank you. And so I was about 6 years sober at that point. I think about, and this is not every day or every month or anything, but I think about, like, what if I was still using then? I wouldn't have been able to been there for him. I wouldn't have remembered those last 13 months I had with him. What do you think kept you sober through all that? Because that is, losing a father, losing a loved one is probably the most intense feelings that you can have in life.
I mean, I wanted to be there with him. That's what did it. I was sitting right next to him until pretty much the time he died. Got to spend the last week with him. That was, I couldn't say much because I was like on the verge of tears every time I tried to talk to him.
Yeah.
But he's on fentanyl patches, and there's a box right there. But not once did I think about taking those out and snorting them.
Dude, what a feeling, right?
Yeah. I
mean,
was there for him. I wasn't there for.
It's a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, congratulations getting through that sober, because anybody would be in danger in that situation in recovery.
Yeah.
And speaking of families, let's say an individual or a family member, if they have somebody struggling or if they're struggling in themselves, what do you want them to take out of your story to get some hope?
Yeah, don't give up on them. As long as someone's breathing, there's a chance, and call the professionals. Let them guide you. There's all kinds of services out there for someone that needs help. There's interventionists. There's, plethora of treatment centers.
A lot of families can be enabling and prolong that substance use disorder. Like, what do you say to those family members that are prolonging the pain? What would you say to them to try to get through that? There's only so much you can do, and there's only so much that you can take.
And if that person does end up in a treatment center, make sure that treatment center has a great family program, because they're going to learn all that in there. And something my family didn't do, at Cumberland Heights. I wish they would have, but they weren't interested in it. And but they can help a lot, and I see it. The family program is one of the most underrated programs, I think.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It's another offering, right? That CH
They'll
has.
guide the family, and it's not for the, this is for the family specifically, for their educational purposes on addiction and how to support their loved ones.
Yeah, how to correctly support them, because I have seen that where there's a lot of family members that can get involved with addiction care and give someone the wrong advice. And unfortunately, I've seen some people pass away because of that, the advice that they give them. You know, different people need different things, obviously. So I think that's really important. I would like, second what you said about never give up on somebody. You know, it's just like Jesus says, like, how many times should you forgive them? 7 times, 70, unlimited, right? So it's, based on that, that's how many times we should be willing to accept that somebody's going to, fail, but never to give up on them. Try to get them help again.
I don't want, sorry to bring this up again and rewind on the family program, but I actually did the family program at Hazelden, and my mom came, and obviously you're separate from your family and you're helping other family members. So that's the whole idea, is that you guys aren't in the same room together experiencing the same thing. They're learning it from other people. I think it was one of my top tier changes in me, like the first month of me getting sober. Also knowing that Hazelden, the members of Hazelden and the board trusted me to do the family program and be a leader in that situation. That's exactly what made me want to work in treatment.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you brought it up. I think it could benefit anyone. And if anyone's out there that ever has a son or a daughter or a husband, wife that is in the program and it wants to do the family program, you should just bite the bullet and do it.
Absolutely.
But is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, some hope, any words of advice, anything that you have going on that you want to talk about in closing?
I don't know. Don't give up on your loved ones. Reach out for help if you need it.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Johnny.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for sharing your story, and Chad and I are super thankful, and we're thankful for everything that you do for the community here in Tennessee and beyond. And thank you for trusting us as a clinic too.
Or if your family member is struggling, call Intervention. They'll in the TV show, they'll get them into treatment.
Get treatment, I think, is the key.
I think it's still on the air too.
It is. Yeah, that's a great suggestion too.
I'm joking, but
No. Thank you so much. And please check out Cumberland Heights and everything they have to offer. But then also feel free to like and subscribe to the podcast and anything else that Cumberland Heights does. And we wish you well, and have a great day, Todd.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.